Information suppression doesn't exhaust this toolkit of deliberately malicious antisocial mechanisms. Disinformation is an oft-used tool as well. For instance, Russia will actively recruit or employ, supply various forms of support to individuals that spread disinformation on the internet. And they do so for political gain primarily, but also for things like economic gain. The bulk of disinformation, in fact, comes from concerted efforts of state-supported institutions and large corporations. And this is true because in order to actively engage in these campaigns of disinformation, you really need a relatively large and coordinated effort of significant scale. So because of the effort required to wage successful disinformation campaigns, you find that they are primarily employed by larger institutions, organizations, and governments. For example, in 2017, the report on Russian activities in the 2016 election concluded that, and I'm quoting here from page 12, the Kremlin's campaign aimed at the U.S. election featured disclosures of data obtained through Russian cyber operations, intrusions into U.S. state and local electoral boards, and overt propaganda. Russian intelligence collection both informed and enabled the influence campaign. So, as I noted when we talked about disinformation and propaganda with regard to actions of individuals and small groups, I distinguish between propaganda and disinformation in this book and these lectures precisely because they have different intents, different goals. Remember, practitioners of disinformation, they seek to infect information ecosystems with ideologically biased information, as well as false and contradictory information. Practitioners of disinformation, the primary intent is to disrupt. They don't wish to convince so much as to confuse you or to create division or sow distrust. And it's these goals that you find distinguishes disinformation from propaganda. One of the tools that practitioners of disinformation use is to get information, usually illicitly through hacking. So, for instance, the Russians hacked the DNC. They hacked apparently the Republican Party, the Hillary Clinton campaign, and so on. And then they slowly but strategically disclosed this stuff in an effort to distract the electorate during the election. But they used information that they'd gotten illegally. And in fact, when you look around, what you see is that, for instance, one list of publicly disclosed data breaches shows 20 incidents in 2018 in which at least 30,000 records were stolen. And of course, Equifax just settled a huge suit over the data breach where they were hacked and information on something like 150 million people, including myself, was stolen from this credit bureau. Practitioners of disinformation, they don't necessarily want to convince you of anything, but they often seek to create feelings of anger or fear by one group of a society towards another group of the society. So, for instance, Hitler and the Nazis scapegoated Jewish citizens to inflame anti-Semitism in Germany. And oftentimes, organizations and governments recruit and financially support real sympathizers, people who unknowingly or knowingly help to create and spread divisive materials, which then oftentimes gain a life of their own on the internet. So, for instance, Putin sympathizers like James Dowson, who I discuss in the chapter, have created and promoted multiple sites. These sites all generate or repackaged fake anti-Clinton news during the 2016 campaign. They were also big players in Brexit, and this campaign was in part informed by information that had been gleaned illicitly through Facebook as well. Not only that, but um, relatively recent reporting has revealed that Russia's troll farms bought at least $100,000 of ads on Facebook during the 2016 election, and that they often targeted swing states with these ads. They bought advertising on Twitter, on Instagram, Gmail, Google Search, and YouTube as well, and posted on YouTube channels under various sympathetic or even fake identities. But Russian disinformation and propaganda began long before 2016. It continues today. Trolls have spread false reports in the US of chemical accidents, of Ebola outbreaks, racially motivated police shootings, and much, much more. Russian trolls will also paint rosy pictures of embarrassing events like the invasion of the Ukraine and the plunge of the ruble. They'll often use social media or comment sections on news articles, for instance, to create a false sense of popular opinion. Equally frightening, trolls will slander and threaten opposition leaders, political figures, and reporters. And this is true in Russia, but in other places as well, as I note in the chapter.